Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about something that really needs to be said, and I think it's one of the frustrations for those of us who've been doing this a long time. We are knowledgeable about nutrition. We've helped a lot of people, particularly things like irritable bowel syndrome, right? Which is actually multiple different conditions have all been classified as IBS. So it actually is not just one medical condition, but it's generally related to some sort of inflammation of the lining of the intestine that causes people to not be able to handle FODMAPs, basically. So I've had to help clients with this, who then we were able to successfully bulk them, who were usually underweight as a result of this. I've also helped a real life friend with this many years ago. So this is one of those things to where, again, tell you straight up, you don't have IBS, so if you're gaining weight from eating these foods, that's usually not an irritable bowel syndrome, by the way. Usually if you really have it, you're one of the people who struggle to gain weight, such as lifters I've had. But I digress. Let's get back over to the point of this. So when we're dealing with IBS, we're seeing people who are shifting over to a lot of the carnivore type stuff, which is going to destroy your health, right? And they're usually like, well, you know, the problem is that I can't handle all these vegetables and things, and so I have to just cut them out. And the problem is, sure, your IBS is a problem, but now you're going to create enormous amounts of other health problems because, as I've pointed out, the data is overwhelming about fruits and vegetables, all-cause mortality, health, cancer, diabetes, obesity, all of these things, right? So we need to be consuming large amounts of vegetables and fruits as a normal part of our diet every single day if we want to maximize health. Right? That is not optional. So here's the problem then with this sort of approach is that they're throwing out the baby with the bathwater. And the reality is, if you have severe IBS and you can't handle a lot of these fibers, and particularly the FODMAPs, the solution is to go on a low FODMAP diet. It is not, I repeat, not to go over to a zero fiber diet. Because in the long term, that's not going to fix your problem. You're going to have a lot of other problems develop. You're going to have gut flora problems, and you're going to pretty much force yourself to have to do this for even longer, right? Because what you need to be focusing on is healing your gut while still having a healthy diet. And a lot of that will involve making sure that your gut flora is healthy. So the idea here is you have to go on a low FODMAP diet. And there are plenty of vegetables you can eat, things like spinach, things like carrots, okay, rice, bananas. These things all work really well. These are perfect examples. Okay, so if a person has such severe IBS that vegetables seem to inflame it, they need to go on specific vegetables that are easy to digest and don't ferment the same way in the gut, okay, while their gut is healing. Okay, but they also don't need to be eating a bunch of pro-inflammatory foods, and I think this is the big problem people have with these other sort of diets. They do that, then they eat foods that will promote general inflammation in the body, right? Red meat, butter, so on and so forth. This is not the stuff that you should be eating if you have a major inflammation problem, even if it's localized to the gut, because then on the hormonal side, all the inflammatory prostaglandins and things, you're going to increase those, right? This is not what you need to be doing. Eggs would not be a good choice here, for example, due to the arachidonic acid if you've got major inflammation problems. Your solution is to eat the foods that will not inflame the gut wall any further. You need to have a balanced diet with plenty of antioxidants, plenty of anti-inflammatory stuff to help you heal that lining. Because that's the problem with the other things. You're not supplying the nutrients on these carnivore type diets to actually promote the healing that you need. You don't have all the anti-inflammation. You don't have all the antioxidants. All the things that we need to heal the inflammation and the damage over time is not being supplied. You're simply trying to reduce the irritation locally. And that can be done while still eating plenty of vegetables and fruits of the right types. But you have to be picky. You have to go down the list and look at the FODMAP value of them. And if you do that, I have found Many people do just fine. Their IBS gets better. They're able to do things, and again, just by being picky with it. But I mean, those are perfect examples. Rice, carrots, spinach, bananas, right? Those work extremely well for people in these situations who are struggling with the digestion. Okay? Now, they can still eat certain lean meats and stuff, but I wouldn't be eating a bunch of saturated fat necessarily. That is not optimal, and you don't need to be cutting out all these extremely nutritional foods. And if we do these things, you're going to be better in the long term while you get it under control. And keep in mind, things like this sort of gut damage, if you follow the right sort of approach to heal it, and eat the foods that do so, it is not a lifelong thing, meaning you don't necessarily have to suffer with IBS indefinitely. You can eventually start working the foods back in. But the problem is that people want these short-term fixes, and they cut these things out, and they don't realize the other long-term damage they're doing. You know, you get people say, but it is controlling my IBS and my inflamed gut for now, so what's the problem? Well, the problem is going to be the long term. You're going to have for other gut problems because you're now going to have a problem with the gut flora. You're going to have extinction of a lot of the species in there that you want. And repopulating them is not that easy. And you might be why you have the problems to begin with, because you followed a really bad diet without enough fiber, created much of the problem. So you have to reintroduce things over time slowly. All right, so that's part of it. The other thing is going to be all the other health consequences. The potential insulin resistance, the risks of cancer, the risk of cardiovascular disease, the other general inflammation you're going to have in the body as a result of this, because this sort of dietary approach isn't anti-inflammatory. It's very pro-inflammatory over the long term. Right? You're going to have problems with fatty liver. You're going to have problems with insulin resistance still. You're going to have these problems when your diet consists of, again, extremely heavy on saturated fat, and particularly when we're low in all these plant nutrients that you need. This is a bad approach, and I see it being put out way too common, and the problem is that it creates other health effects while temporarily, apparently magically alleviating the symptoms. There are better approaches, such as what I broke down, of just being very selective in the fruits and vegetables that you eat and still being able to eat significant amounts of them. Because again, in the long term, the consequences are going to be devastating. It's going to be absolutely devastating. And most people who try these sort of carnivore type approaches eventually admit they start running into health problems and they can't do it long term. And if it is your only solution to your IBS, now you're really going to have problems. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.